become a women's empowerment coach? Do you love the idea of speaking on stages, writing books, and inspiring women all over the world? Do you dream of becoming a big name in women's empowerment like Oprah or Lisa Nichols or Iyanla Vanzant? If you want to know what it takes to get into the women's empowerment industry, you're in the right place, because in this video, I'm going to show you how to become a women's empowerment coach. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, my name is Courtney Sanders. I'm a full-time online business owner. I'm a life coach and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about getting into women's empowerment and becoming a women's empowerment coach, which I guess you could say I am. That is my umbrella term in terms of all the different things that I do, but I get so many questions from women, especially when I go to speaking engagements and they see me speaking on stages and they want to know how can they get into this industry as well. And so I also wanted to do this because I see a lot of women who want to get in women's empowerment make a lot of classic mistakes. And so if you want to be a women's empowerment authority, you want to see your name in lights, you want to do the Oprah, Iyanla, Lisa Nichols thing, and you want to do that in your own industry, there's plenty of space for you to do that, but you have to understand how to do it the right way, which we're gonna get into right now. All right, the first thing you have to keep in mind if you want to become a women's empowerment coach is you have to shape your story. So I always say that people don't tell their stories, they tell their circumstances, unfortunately, right? When you tell your circumstance, all you're doing is just telling what happened to you. But to tell your story requires shaping. It requires you being the author of your story. And the one thing you'll notice about any authority or any name in women's empowerment is that they have a story to tell, and that it's really interesting. In fact, a lot of women get discouraged and they count themselves out from becoming a women's empowerment coach because they think that their story is not interesting enough or is not extreme enough. They were never homeless or they never had, some extreme thing happen to them. But what they don't realize is your story is perfect. Any story is good enough to be a women's empowerment coach. It's all about how you shape it. And I'm a living testimony about that. So if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, then you've probably heard elements of my story. But just to summarize it, I got into this by almost flunking out of college, right? So I started college, I had a full ride engineering scholarship. I went to school, I thought I was everything and thought I was gonna do really great. But then I got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. Lisa Price, the founder of Carol's Daughter, which is a natural hair care brand, came on campus, and I was skipping my engineering class one day and was hanging out in the business school, and I listened to her story about how she built this business, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. So I actually started my own hair care company at age 19, and I was mixing up all this like shea butter stuff in my dorm room, had a hot plate when I wasn't supposed to, was using all of my internship money to buy all these ingredients from all over the world, Canada, Nigeria, everywhere. My stuff was getting held up in customs. And so I got back on campus the following semester and had all these products that I had made over the summer, and your girl promptly sold 0. Actually, that's not true. I sold 1 to someone who I guess had pity on me, and they were like, I'll try your hair products. So I sold 1. After all the money I spent and all the classes that I skipped, I sold 1. So it shouldn't come by any surprise that I got a letter in the mail that said, because of your tanking GPA, you're not gonna have a scholarship next semester. And I started scrambling, trying to figure out a way to stay in school. And so in that whole journey, I was like, wow, I really need to get my life together. I need to get my finances together. And so I started to blog my journey, not because I wanted to create a business, but because I wanted someone to hold me accountable. And all of my friends were graduating and I was getting left behind. Side note, it took me 6 years to graduate my undergrad. So if you're still in school, don't feel bad. We all go at our own pace. And so I was alone in school. All of my friends had graduated. And I started this blog to document my journey, to get my grades back up, to get my credit card debt down, and just to become successful and to really, learn the things I needed to do in order to be a successful person, not just a successful business person. And so with that, my blog started to get some traction and people started to reach out to me and ask me to coach them. And so over time, a long time, I graduated from school and got a full-time job. And I would say a good 4 to 5 years from that point when I had lost my scholarship, I finally had grown my brand to the point where I was able to quit my job on Labor Day in 2016, and I've been full-time ever since. And so that's just an example of how I shape my story, right? My story, I think, could be boring if it was just like, oh, big whoop, you're just a college student who, messed up in school. Everybody's got a story like that. But it's the way I shape it and the way that I tell it that allows people to find empowerment. And so you need to learn how to shape your story, because that's going to be the foundation of your women's empowerment coaching business. All right, the second thing you need to do, which kind of ties in with the first thing, which is shape your story, is that you need to share your success, not just your struggle. This is a huge one that I see a lot of women empowerment coaches make in terms of making this mistake, especially those who go on to self-publish books and they get really frustrated because their books aren't selling. It's because there's too much focus on the struggle and not enough focus on the success, right? Yes, you might have a story where you overcame an abusive relationship, or maybe you did overcome homelessness, or you overcame being a single parent, or a messed up childhood, or whatever it is that you want to use to empower others. But I see so many women's empowerment coaches spending all of their time focusing on the struggles that they went through, and they build their brand all around these struggles, and their book titles are all about the struggles that they went through, but they don't have any success to share and inspire with people. And it's the success that's ultimately going to inspire people, right? The reason we find Oprah inspirational is because of her success, even before she became a billionaire, right? She was this young Black girl who found her way in the 80s onto TV as a talk show host, and she was really good at it, and she was, meeting celebrities and interviewing them in their story, and that in of itself was inspiring. And so people were inspired by, wow, this is the struggle that she came from, but look at the success that she is walking in. I want to know how she traversed that. I want to know how she made that journey. And so that's the key thing that you have to bridge when you want to become a women's empowerment coach is, yes, you want to share your struggle because people need to know where you came from, but you also have to share the success because that's what's going to inspire them and make them want to work with you. And so even in my business, I didn't start getting clients until I had successfully graduated from school and started building my business on the side and started growing a following. People started to say, hey, I've been following you since the beginning. I remember when you were messing up in school and how you did all this stuff. How is it that you're now achieving the success that you're achieving? Even when I was achieving success on that small level, it was that gap that people were interested in. And that's how I was able to build my brand. And you're gonna have to do the same if you want to be a women's empowerment coach. The next thing you need to do if you want to become a women's empowerment coach is you need to excavate your expertise. So I talk about this a lot. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but it's so important. Again, it's not just enough for you to talk about your struggles. It is not even just enough for you to talk about your success, but you have to get clear on what you're really good at and what is the path that you took. Like, what did you do? What is the expertise that you developed that allowed you to go from struggle to success? That, my friends, is what people are going to pay you for. And I use the word excavate because we often are very dismissive about the things that we're good at. We're dismissive about the results that we have, and we're dismissive about the things that people would pay us to know or would at least come to our speaking engagements or buy our books. And so again, you're telling your success, you're telling your struggle, but you also need to share the expertise that somebody else can learn from that journey. That's what your books need to be about. That's what your speaking engagements need to be about. That's what your YouTube videos need to be about. What is that expertise that you developed that allowed you to go from point A to point B? You'll have people lining up if you could figure out what that is. All right, I have more tips and strategies where that came from, but I want to hear from you. Are you an aspiring women's empowerment coach? If so, I would love to meet you and say, hey, go ahead and leave a comment below just introducing yourself so I can say hi. All right, the next thing you need to do if you want to become a women's empowerment coach is you have to narrow your niche. Ooh, this is a big mistake that I see a lot of women make. They just say, I want to empower women. And it's like, well, what kind of women? All of them. Well, how do you want to empower them? In their whole life. Way, way, way too broad. And I know the reason they do that is because, again, they see these big names like Oprah, Ayanna, Lisa Nichols, etc., who do have brands that are broad and that are helping just general women with everything, but they don't realize that even they started narrow, and as they built their success in their particular arenas, it grew and it expanded and they were able to reach and touch more people. And so you don't want to start with a super broad, super big niche because it dilutes you and people don't really understand what your uniqueness is or what you have to bring to the table. So start very narrow. For me, I originally was just focusing on college women, and then I was focusing on millennial women, and then it started to expand as I got more successful in that arena. People who were outside of that demographic started to come to me and say, hey, can you help me can you use your expertise to help me with these other things? And so you want to start narrow your niche to begin with, and trust that as you become successful with it, over time, it will grow bigger. All right, the next thing you need to do if you want to be a women's empowerment coach after you've done all of these things is you need to build your brand, especially in the women's empowerment coaching arena. If your brand doesn't look like anything, people are not going to work with you, right? So that's almost just like a rule just to get on the game board is you need to have a brand that looks like something, that looks, substantial, where you look like the success story that you say you are. How can you say that you're the success story, that you started with the struggle and now you're at the success and you did it via this level of expertise, but your brand looks, homemade, and that you're just this run-of-the-mill, person who slaps some stuff together on the internet? No, you gotta come correct. You gotta come like a professional. You need to look the part. Do you look like the person who's on the cover of the New York Times bestseller? Do you look like the person who's got the mic, who's standing on stages, speaking to the masses? Do you look like that person in your brand? Do you have photos like that? Is your logo like that? Do you have branding like that? Is your content powerful like that? If it's not, you'd want to go back to the drawing board and make sure that it is, because that is going to be crucial in order to get people to hire you. All right, so that's all I have for you in this video, but if you loved it, you're definitely going to want to check out my Nail Your Niche Challenge. So we talked about how important it is to build a brand and also to narrow your niche. I go over how to do both of these things in detail in my 5-day Nail Your Niche Challenge. Now, I have to warn you, this is a live challenge. This is something brand new that I'm doing. I'm doing it live. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing it, but I did my last one and it was really amazing. You could check out some of the footage. And so I want you to join me on my next one, but I'm keeping it limited because we have an option where people can join and actually get direct coaching from me and ask me questions on Zoom. And again, it is live. And so because I want people who join to be able to ask their questions, I'm limiting the amount of people that I allow to join in these challenges. So if you want to see if the next one is coming up, go ahead and click the link below. It's CourtneyLSanders.com/niche. If you see any spots available, you need to go ahead and register, because once they're gone, we're shutting it down. So go ahead and register for my upcoming Nail Your Niche Challenge right now and be on your journey to becoming a women's empowerment coach. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait till my next one, go ahead and check me out on iTunes and Spotify with my podcast, which is The Courtney Sanders Show. And if you can't wait for my next podcast or my next video, come on over to my Instagram. I'm there daily. Follow me on Instagram.com/CourtneyLSanders. Leave a comment on my latest post. Let me know that you watched this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.